Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Higher Moment Mastermind. I'm Sheila Lutzer, happy to be your host today, along with Vern Schellinger, and we are here to answer your job search questions. So, Ty, Scott, Tavi, who has a question for us? Ty, I'm going to pick on you.
No, I don't know really if I have any questions. I'm just sort of miffed, and I think it's just a numbers game sometimes, getting your name out there. And just I know targeting and networking is very important, but sometimes I think it's a numbers game in terms of just getting your name out there. Of course, the more lines you have in the water, the more chance you have of catching fish. So I guess, and I don't know, are you seeing any changes in the job market? The media is painting this picture of doom and gloom, and we're headed for a recession, and places are going to start cutting back. Are you seeing any change at all in the job?
In certain sectors. I mean, the tech sector, for sure, absolutely. I mean, there's been a lot of downsizing in the tech sector. I haven't per se seen a slowdown here. Of course, it's too early to tell, because these things take time to manifest. But I'd say for now, I think we're still fine. Okay. Per se. Yeah, I think people are going to start to shift. But on the other hand, there's just been a lot of movement. People are still changing jobs, and there's still openings. It's still hard for people to find people, for employers to find people. So I'd say for now, we're still in the same kind of place, but look, at the end of the day, what hasn't changed, even though it's been a really good market, is that employers still want what they want. They want the unicorn candidates typically. They want the person who checks every box twice. And that's everything from skill fit to culture fit. Nobody wants to take a risk. I've said this a million times. It's just, they can only hire one person, and they want that person to be the fit. So yeah, you're right. You do need to get out there as much as possible, for sure. But I think for now, the job market's still pretty hot.
Is there anything specific to the association market, since that's the area that I'm looking at? Is there any changes that you're seeing?
I mean, again, it's too early to tell, right? And plus, I'm not going to know the whole market. I can just tell you, look, the other day I was on a call with a CEO, and he's like, he had a position that was entry-ish level, and he's like, oh, we can't find anybody. So, I still think it's still hot. In fact, I'm hearing CEOs talk about, and this is an internal thing, talk about having to raise salaries for next year because of inflation. So they're still in that mindset. I'm not hearing quite yet the future recession. In fact, associations in general tend to go on the last year's economy, because they were on last year's budget.
Yeah.
Like, for example, I distinctly remember in the 2009 recession, when in October of 2008, everything crashed, right? Associations weren't really feeling it until the spring of 2010, because they needed a full year of, they were on that new budget, and they weren't feeling it until the next conference cycle. Do you know what I mean? So they always lag the economy, because they're on dues, right? And non-dues revenue, not Q1, Q2, Q3, like a corporation would be, where they're like, oh, this is stock market's doing its thing, so we've got to cut that. No, they have a whole year cycle.
Yeah. So when I was at the American Bankers Association, the renewal was like, where are we? July, August of 2022. So July, August, September of 2022, banks are renewing for 2023. So as long as they get all the banks to renew their dues for another year, they have a budget that they can work with, throughout 2023. So that it shouldn't make any major impact on, downsizing or major cuts or that type of thing. Now, they may tighten their strings a little bit, knowing that, if we do go into a recession, but that, and to Shira's point, that's just typical. All of the associations, it's member dues or revenue sources that come in on an annual basis.
Right. So I think, Ty, you're good for now. Again, keep right? Keep
Hi,
doing.
have you looked at the American Bank Association at all?
Yes, I have. I've applied, actually interviewed there with one HR person. Oh, I don't know, about 6, 7 months ago.
Yeah.
She basically everything I put on my resume, she went through every job and said, why did you leave here? What did you do? It was just a long, I don't know what HR people do, I guess.
Okay. All right. The only reason I mentioned that, because there's a lot of, in the larger associations, the Association for Talent Development would be another one. In those larger associations, there are a lot of customer service rep positions because there's a lot of interface with members, right? In terms of programming and events and so forth and so on.
And not for nothing, Ty, I know that you typically go, which most people do, you'll go after where the job openings are, maybe you go on ASAE or Indeed or whatever. But remember too, there's the hidden market. Always got to remember that. There are plenty of organizations, plenty of employers that are not using the job boards. They're simply going to their colleagues. I got one of those the other day from an association. I think it was a CEO. It was like, hey, we have an education manager or something like that. Does anybody know anybody? I don't know if that person is actually posting on ASAE or a job board. Maybe they're not. Maybe they're just using their network. And if you're an education manager and you don't know me, I can't refer you. Does that make sense? So,
Yeah,
so your case, Ty, since you're going after the membership assistant coordinator, right? That level, your job is to network with membership directors. In fact, speaking of ABA, as Vern knows, we had I don't know if you were on this call when she was here, but Jamie Bilyeu.
yes, I've talked to her. Yeah.
Oh, good. Okay, good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Talked to her.
Good. Yeah. So we've got Kimberly Berry. I'm not sure if she was a while back. She's also another membership director who used to be on this call. But anyway, there are a lot of membership people out there who might have an entry level opening who may need to know about you. So I would go on LinkedIn, type in director of membership, and see who comes up. And if they're second level contacts to you, right? Try to leverage your first. That's really important when networking. Really try to leverage your first level mutual contact, because then it's a much warmer connection. Really important to do that. Really important to do that when you're doing the cold outreach. So, because otherwise, if you just reach out to like random people, I mean, yeah, they might accept your invitation, but they're much more likely if it's a trusted first level person to make the introduction.
Okay, that's good. And two of my networking, I guess you call it events, or people I've talked to, they told me, well, you spent time in the insurance industry, 14 years in an insurance company. The insurance department should be looking at associations if that's what you want to do with insurance.
The insurance associations.
Yeah, the insurance association.
That would be actually very helpful because they oftentimes they like hiring people from the industry.
Yeah.
Yeah. There is, I think the American Insurance Association still exists. Vern, I don't know if you know that.
Don't know.
Then there's also like the NAIFA, the National Association of Independent, or maybe that's financial. Anyway, you might have to just type in Google, insurance associations and just see all the ones that come up. So there's health and property and life. So hopefully that's helpful.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. Tavi?
Piggybacking of what Ty, are you on LinkedIn?
Yes.
So I think maybe you can look into joining, like, have you heard of Dan Roth before?
I have not.
He has a group on LinkedIn called the Tuesday Job Collaborative, where people are allowed to post like what they're looking for, and he has different hiring managers and HR people in there, and I guess if from their perspective you meet like a need that they have, then I guess they'll reach out to you and continue the conversation, I guess, from there, hopefully.
Great, thank you. I made a note of that.
So I found that once I was active in his group, it led me to other people that did like open for work, like posts where people in their community or that they're connected to could post what they were looking for in jobs. So
So the other thing, Ty, is there is a and this is a question. Do you need to stay within the association world, or would you be open to like a call center, corporate call center kind of environment?
I would be open to a corporate call center.
Okay, so I'm going to give you like speaking of associations there, because there's an association for everything. There's an association whose members are call center executives, or they call it customer care. Okay, and it's called SOCAP, and I'm going to put it in the chat right here. So this is a bit of a like gymnastics for you, but if you go there, okay, I don't know if they, let's see, member directory. Hold on. Okay, you have to log in for it. Well, in any event, maybe if you tool around, you might get some creative ideas. But the idea, though, for you is that those are the people, executives, who hire call center representatives. So I don't know how helpful it'll be, but at least maybe it'll give you an in. Okay. But even so, if you just go on LinkedIn in general and look for networking, director of customer care, director of customer something, client something, those folks often have call center opportunities. And even just in regular job searching, call center jobs could be good for you. Because my impression is that they probably have a lot of need for call center people.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Good morning, Sandra. Would you like to ask a question?
Good morning, everyone.
Hi, Sandra.
Hi, Fern, Tabi,
Hi,
Ty.
Sandra.
Hi. I guess, yes, just for feedback on this, recently, because I've been out in the market a while, and I was focused initially on director and manager level roles. So then I was tweaking my resume and just doing searches for, in addition to temp and contract work, I started searching for that last week, but also, what is it called? HR specialist, and even entertained a conversation about a generalist. So the concern is, well, when you land, let's say, accept a role for specialist, and then just having to navigate that area a year from now when you're looking for something else, and someone's like, wait, you were a director 3 years ago, the manager a year and a half ago, and now you want to be a
It is a very, very legitimate question that you're asking. I'm glad you brought that up, because that actually it's a big challenge, big challenge when you take a step back. Then future employers are usually going to say, what happened? Now you could explain it somewhere, but it's still a challenge. That's presuming they'd even hire you for a specialist job, because if you've been a director level, they're thinking that you're going to be a flight risk, and that's not untrue. Because you're not going to probably want to stay at that level for any long length of time. And they're going to want to hire people typically who are within that career stage. Do you know? So for your sake and for their sake, it really is best to stay at your level if you can.
Okay, so then I guess then that brings about the next question. So, and I'm try to wrestle with this every couple of weeks. So then I'm thinking, okay, then just open up my funnel to say temp work or contract work as manager, director, senior leader, something like that, as opposed to mid-level HR specialist or something.
Remind us of what your level is, Sandra.
Human resources director. So basically,
A generalist.
Yes, with the sweet spot of talent acquisition. So historically, what has happened, I've worked for companies that have under 200 people, but their HR department is usually a department of one, or I may get lucky and hire someone else. But the short story is 60 to 75% of my time is finding talent in addition to all that. So yeah.
Would you prefer something that has recruiting as its main focus? Or that's
Yes, that is a preference, yes.
So a director of recruiting, director of talent acquisition would be the ideal
could
job?
you? Could you do?
Um, And that's the thing. Thank you, Vern. I have thought about that and have applied for a few of them. However, most of them I don't apply for because they want experience leading a larger
Large
team.
team? Yeah,
Right.
that's true. That's true.
So it's kind of like a catch-20. So most of those I don't apply for because I've led a team of 2
Right,
and I'm one of the 2. So yeah.
right.
Yeah. I'm assuming, Sandra, that you're connected to all of the local SHRM chapters?
Not all of them, but the Nova, the Dulles, and of course the national one.
Are you part of the group that Sonia's been involved in, the HR Lit?
Yes, she introduced me to that earlier this year. Yeah.
Okay, yeah. Because obviously, again, to Shira's earlier point about the hidden job market, people within, the HR realm, if there's a job opening, they talk to, they let each other know about job openings and that type of thing. So, yeah.
And do you know about the search firms that are in HR?
Not specifically HR, Shira.
Yeah, so, and I presume she's still around. Last I knew this, there's a company called the HR Source, the HR Source. Pat Hall James. This is years ago. I don't know if she's still around. Maybe she is. That all they do is every level from temp to perm in HR. Then there's also the HR, hire strategy, HIRE strategy. I don't know if they still have an HR practice, but at least last I knew they had. Then there's actually, so there's nonprofit HR professionals. Now they do search for nonprofits, but they also are an HR outsourcing firm. So that's something you may want to consider to actually be. Do you know about HR outsourcing? Where you take on so you work for the companies, it's a consulting firm, and then they work with small clients who just need like part-time HR, like, you go in once a week or a couple times a month, whatever.
Okay.
They're outsourced HR. So you maybe have like a couple clients. So you'd have that would have to fit your lifestyle,
Right.
to have a couple clients as opposed to one full-time job. That is something you may want to consider. Look them up. If you're interested, I can introduce you there because I have a couple of contacts there. So nonprofit HR solutions.
And they're called HR outsourcing.
Well, the industry is called
The
HR.
industry. Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. And thank you.
There's a lot of HR outsourcing companies.
Okay.
Rafa is one. Helios HR is another one.
Maybe with Helios, right?
Yeah,
Okay.
Kathy Alvarado runs that one. I can
Yeah.
introduce you to her if you want. Vern, I'm trying to think of the other ones.
Well, the ones that I knew, in fact, I think the very first one that was ever invented in DC was Knowledge Bank by Tom Weimer.
Oh, right. Yeah.
way back when. But then he sold Knowledge Bank 2007, 2008. I don't even know if it's Knowledge Bank anymore. And then there was another one that
Another one called Smart HR.
I've seen that. Okay.
Smart HR. Mark, I forget his last, I think guy's name is Mark something.
Okay.
Okay.
Right. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah. So then what?
And the other thing that would fit there is given your experience working in these small companies. And you've had to do everything, right?
Mhm.
In these small companies. When I was at AMVA, it was me and one administrative assistant. So yeah, I was putting ads in the paper or in the, on the website, and I was doing strategic HR with the CEO. I mean, the game, right? You spend that time. So these outsourcing companies, all of these small companies go, we have this problem, we have that problem. And then they find somebody who's got experience and they contract you out to that company. And as Shira said, it could be 4 hours a week. It could be 2 days a week. It just depends on the needs of the client they're working with.
Okay. Right. Thank you.
Yeah.
Sure. I just went on SOCAP's website and they do have a big job board. Thank you so much.
Yeah,
All
great.
across the country and
Excellent.
number of jobs. So that I'm going to check into that. Thank you so much.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Toppy, did you have a job search question first?
No, not really like a job search question, but just like something I've been doing lately to kind of put myself out there. So to generate some income, I've been doing a little bit of DoorDash, So I
Mhm.
deliver like people order like food like from company, like from workplaces or wherever. So it just came to the realization that you never know who you'll meet like
Right,
at these places. So if you deliver good customer service, they might say we could use someone like you. So
right.
yeah.
Absolutely. You never know.
Yeah,
Never know where you're gonna meet people. Vern, you got what to say about that? The never know where you're gonna meet people thing.
yeah, well, it's just amazing. Well, in fact, I can give you an example from this call. It was a while ago, but Noreen Hennigan,
And again,
Hennigan. So she was on this call, and Noreen was on this call probably at least a year ago. And she was starting her own HR talent acquisition consulting firm. And so after the call, she reached out to me and she said, "You've got a lot of experience in HR. I'd like to get your feedback." So I had a call with Noreen. I, gave her what I knew about, and answered her questions. And she sent me a very nice thank you email. And a week later, Noreen says, "You need to meet my friend Jerry." So she introduces me to Jerry. And as most of you know, I'm rebuilding the Contacts Count brand. And Jerry takes the networking competency assessment. I said, "Are you interested in this?" Because I was telling him about it. He says, "Yeah, I'm interested in taking it." So he took it. He gets back to me and he said, "I have 3 partners and we're going to launch a new firm. And we want the Contacts Count content on our new firm." And so I'm continuing to have discussions with them, and we're getting close to some kind of partnership, licensing agreement, whatever it is. We don't know that yet. But it was through Noreen. And if it wasn't for my conversation with Noreen, I would have never met Jerry and his 3 partners.
you never know. I'll give you another example. So we used to have a longtime attendee here named Kimberly Berry. And so through this call, okay, she heard about another networking event, okay, that actually I had been a part of. She goes to that networking event, and on that call, she happens to mention to that group, because that group was in her industry. On that call, she happens to mention, hey, she's looking for a job and this and that. Somebody on that call said, hey, there's an opening at ABC organization. Looks like it'll fit you. Happy to make an introduction. Makes the introduction. She gets the job. And she's been there since this day. I mean, we could go on and on and on. How important the power of networking is. You never know who you're going to meet. People who are completely outside your industry, right? Who knows somebody who knows somebody who knows somebody. So please, please, please make sure that you spend a good chunk of your job search with networking. First, the people who actually do what you do in your sector, but then also other people, right? And always be making sure that you're telling people, hey, I'm looking for this industry. I'm looking for this role. Who do you know? Who do you know? Who do you know? You never know.
And if you really develop a really strong network, I don't know if you may not even believe this, but you may never have to look for a job again.
You'll be tapped. So
You'll be
it happens
tapped.
all the time where people come to me as a career coach. Vern, as your coach too, I'm sure people have said this to you. I've never had to look for a job because people always find me, right?
Yeah, and then now's the first time
And
I
now
haven't
the
been
first
able
time they have to
find.
look for a job in 20
Yeah.
years, right? So yeah, if you leave a lot of good breadcrumbs behind you, oftentimes people will find you. And tell you.
Yeah.
Maggie, you are new with us. How did you hear about us? Tell us about you're on mute, by the way. Who are you? What you looking for? How can we help you?
Okay, good morning. Yeah, I got your email this week. I had a hard time signing in this morning, so I'm sorry I'm so late to joining the meeting, but happy to be here.
Good. So can you tell us, how did you hear about us?
I heard about you through CNM.
Oh, wonderful. Good.
Yeah, I had heard you there a couple of years ago, and it was
Oh,
always
that's right. That's right. You and I emailed. I forgot. Yeah.
yeah.
I'm glad you're here. Can you tell us real quickly? The rest of the folks on this call are regulars, so we kind of know each other. We'd love to hear about you, what you're looking for, and how can we help you?
Okay, I've been with a small pro-life nonprofits, different ones throughout the country, throughout the years for 20 years or something. And now that I'm in Virginia, I really would like to branch out to a national nonprofit. So probably more in the line of events, although I'm good at fundraising and donor development. And I mean, being an executive director, I have a broad knowledge of, HR and medical and accounting and all of that. But,
Tell
events
'em where you-
sounds like it would be a lot of fun. I'd like to just focus on that. So instead of it being a big fish in a small pond, I'd like to be a small fish in a big pond.
Yeah.
Okay.
So one thing, Maggie, we'll just share, and of course we have all this is an open Q&A, right? So I'm just going to address like one area of what you just talked about.
Mhm.
And that is when anybody's making a career shift, okay? You always have to walk a mile in the shoes of the employer.
Mhm.
Employer is risk averse. They all are, every single one of them, okay? And so they typically want to hire people who've been there, done that in the job. And I'm sure you've been the same way, right? When you've hired people, you've looked at the resume and say, oh, do they have all the skills in the industry? So if you've been a number one executive and now you're looking to be smaller fish, okay, you're going to have to make the case for that. So one of the things you're going to need to do is really refocus your branding on your LinkedIn and your resume. In this case, if you're really serious about going through to the event planning side, you need to be super focused and have an event planning brand, okay? In your headline, in your about section, in your resume, you want to pull out all your event planning skills, rebrand. Everything needs to like neon lights, events, okay? So that when you're applying for things, people see that. They focus less on your title and they go, oh, she really does this event thing. She's focused there. And so you de-emphasize everything else. You de-emphasize your donor work. I mean, unless it's event related donor work, but you de-emphasize your ops work or board relations or anything like that. And you just go into the wind, and really make sure that people know that's the area, if that's where you want to focus, but you're going to have to pick a lane. You can't really just be sort of generic and all over the place because then people are going to get confused.
Okay.
Right? That's just a quick tip. Vern, do you want to?
Yeah, so just to follow up, I agree with what you're saying. And the last comment she was made was where I was going to go. How early are you into the job search? And if you're early in the job search and you're saying, well, event planning, donors, raising funds, which one of those do you want to if there's one that you really like, then I do exactly what Shira says. If you're still, I'm not sure which way I want to go, then you probably need to take some more time and think about that. Talk to other people. And again, so the other thing I would add to that is, who do you know in your network that knows you well, that you can connect with and start to have conversations about, here's what I'm thinking about doing. What do you think? What's your advice? What suggestions do you have for me? Do you know anyone? So if it's event planning and you do say, I'd really like to learn more about event planning. Well, you need to meet so-and-so in my network. Start to talk to as many people as you can to help solidify and help you focus. You've got a clear path now. Or a clearer path. Okay.
Okay. Now, what I'm finding is event planning really looks quite different with different organizations. I'm not really thinking event planning as in weddings or just conferences all the time, but there's a few large organizations that have some fabulous events that I would like to be a part of. And they're more donor development related and so forth. So it's, just to be really honest, it's depending on what their events are. Because if it's just scheduling conferences all day or doing weddings, nothing along those lines. So my search has been more on the organizations that I'm interested in working with and, learning a little bit more about what type of events they do and pursuing those. But, it's pretty narrow search, but it's very targeted and focused, which, helps me in my thinking.
That means you're going to have to do a lot of networking with chief executives. Like, you don't want to be looking at job boards. You want to be networking with those executive directors to let them know about you. You want to leverage, if they are second level contacts on LinkedIn, leverage your mutual connections, be that kind of targeted. You know, you can do proactive emails to them and be very like out of the box, you know, because you never know. Maybe they're thinking of creating a new position, or somebody's underperforming, or right. Could be catching them at the right time. There could be a hidden job that they haven't posted out there. So you want to go after the decision makers to let them know that you are targeting them. You don't want to just be passive and say, oh, let me just wait for a job opening on the job board or on the website. You got to go out there and build a relationship and say, hey, I'm targeting you, and here's why, and here's the value I can bring to you. And is this the right time to have an informational conversation? Da, 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 da. It's the road less traveled.
Yeah, and focus is actually a good thing, Maggie. It really is. If you are really focused on what you want, then it helps you target, you know, the people, as Shira is saying, that you need to talk to. I mean, a lot of people, when they get in a job search, they start to try to go in, you know, 20 different directions, and then it gets more difficult for them actually to land a job. One of the things, if you've got 5 or 6 companies that you really would love to work for any one of them, I'd make sure anytime you're talking to somebody, you say, you know, there's like 5 companies I'd really like to work for. Here are these, you know, here they are. You happen to know anybody in any of these companies? And I don't know if you heard that conversation before you jumped on, but you just never know. Somebody might say, oh yeah, my brother-in-law works for ABC company.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. That's really good.
Yeah.
My thought was in doing events with a background that worked in donor development and marketing and graphic design, all of these would come into play in events, whereas events is pretty singularly focused. I have a broad knowledge that would contribute to doing events, because events would work with a graphic designer. Events works with donor development. Events works with video production and so forth. So I kind of want to bring that to the table, that experience. But, you know, as you're saying, I don't want to muddy the water with all these other things, but all these things I think would be valuable assets to bring to an events position.
I think, Maggie, also because you come from the nonprofit world, you're going to want to go after a donor events role. Okay, so not just event planning in general, but specifically donor events. So I would ask that work not just with the executive director, although you could with a small group, but if it's a larger group, I'd network with the chief development officer or the VP of development, because that person might have a specialized donor events role on their team, and you could make the case for that.
Okay, so you're saying not to go for the events manager, but the development manager. Is that what you're saying?
Well, no, a role that is more like about donor events. Now that would have to be with a larger organization where they had enough events to actually warrant a person to just do the events. If it was a smaller group, yeah, I mean, it could certainly be a donor role, but of course, if it's a donor job, it's not just events. Then you'd have to do major gifts, and, you know, all the rest of it. So you're going to have to make some decisions. But it sounds to me like it's the donor events that's really lighting your fire. And it's frankly, that's where you come from. Like, that's your experience. So I think staying in the development space and pitching yourself as a donor events girl.
Okay.
Okay. That's a very targeted route. So instead of just going after events, it's donor events, which falls under development, fundraising development. Yeah. Those are the people that would probably be good to network with to see what's possible, because maybe it's donor events plus something else. It's a little more expanded role, but at least you got the events focus.
So tweak my LinkedIn and events resume. I've got 2 different resumes. One's more ED focused, one is more events focused. But so focus it a little more in saying not just events, but donor events.
Donor events. That's gonna ease the mind of employers, because of like, oh, she gets donor events. Okay. She's part of our space. It's different than just regular events.
All right. That was very.
Two other quick things, Maggie. And Shira and I mention this all the time. Are you aware of the hidden job market?
Hidden job market?
Hidden job market, yeah. In other words, most jobs are not posted.
That's right.
It's
Most
80
jobs.
something, 80% of jobs are not posted.
okay.
So, okay, so you will never find those jobs unless you're networking
That's right.
and talking to people.
That's right.
And then the second thing is, have you ever heard the term informational interview?
Mm-mm.
Okay, so if you have someone in your network and that you have a relationship who's an expert in this area, ask them for an informational interview. An informational interview would be, I'd like to talk to you about what's going on in the industry now. What's hot? What do you see in the future? What are the trends? Where would you see could you see my skills fitting in somewhere? And the more informational interviews you have, the more knowledge you have about how to, it's going to help you in your job search. And maybe one of those informational interviews turns into someone saying, hey, I do know an opening somewhere. And then again, this is the hidden job market, right?
Okay.
Now, some people are more than happy to do informational interviews. Others are not, because basically you're asking them for their time, which is valuable. So an informational interview would happen more likely if Shira and I knew somebody and we got to know you and we made it's what we call a warm introduction. It's not like the stranger off the street that's coming in. Shira or I would introduce you, or someone in your network would introduce you to this person you're going to have the informational interview, who have enough trust in the person that is introducing you to them, to say, okay, yeah, I'm willing, because I have a great, like Shira would say to me, Vern, because I know you so well, could you talk to Maggie? And I would say, sure, because of the relationship Shira and I have.
Okay.
So, and that's just a great way to uncover, what could be really important information to you in terms of, where you look for a job, how you might land a job.
So Maggie, there's on my website, I've got some free job search videos where I've spoken to groups like CNM, right? There's one particular one that's relevant to your topic. I'm going to share it with you guys right now.
Okay.
I call it Accessing the Hidden Job Market. So if you go to my website, I'll put this link in the chat as well, but if you go to my website, purposefulhire.com, go to job seekers, go to Shira Speaks to Job Seekers, and then scroll down here to Accessing the Hidden Job Market. I have a whole formula, okay, that has to, I call it the family network tree, where you're meeting what I call your twins, your siblings, your first cousins, second cousins. It'll make sense when you watch it. That will elucidate what we were just talking about here. So that would be really, I think, up your alley. So I'm going to put the whole link for all those videos here in the chat for everybody.
Okay.
And they're all like 1 to 2 hours in length. So it's a little bit of a time commitment, but it's some rich information there.
Okay. Very good.
Yeah. All right.
Hi, Maggie. Welcome. My wife is Director of Special Events at the National Museum of Women in the Arts, and she's well connected to that industry. She said that she would be willing to connect with you and talk with you. You talk about these signature events. Some of these events are held at her museum. She rents a space out to people, and she's well connected to people that do fundraising in the industry. So she'd be happy to connect with you.
Okay.
You could send me an email, or you can just connect with me on LinkedIn.
Ty, do you want to put your email in this chat for them?
Yes. Yeah, let me put my
The
email
other
in there.
thing, Maggie, just occurred to me since Ty mentioned that, is these AFP, the Association of Fundraising Professionals. I'm pretty sure they have a DC chapter. So I would hook up with them and just start networking with fellow fundraisers.
Okay. Okay.
That's the community you want to be swimming with.
Okay. And what was the industry your wife was in? Museums, you said?
She's the Director of Special Events at the National Museum of Women in the Arts.
Women at the Arts. Okay.
Yeah, they also do fundraising for their museum, but they also what she does is she's in charge of the events there, that renting out the space, selling the space, and many of those groups do signature events.
Okay. All right. Very good.
Yeah, there's this concept, fish where the fish are, right? So you want to find your fish pond. Okay. Good. Ty, did you have a question? Or was that just for Maggie?
That
I
was
mean,
just for Maggie.
Okay.
I don't have a question.
Okay. Any other questions before we wrap up, Sandra?
I just wanted to say welcome, Maggie. I'm Sandra George, and I have a background in human resources. And this forum is really helpful, so welcome. And if I hear of anything that I think will be noteworthy, I'll pass it along to you.
Okay, thank
You're welcome.
So if there's no other questions for the moment, Sandra and Maggie, I did want to let you know, and I shared this with the folks on the call right before you guys got on, in that starting next week, this is important, okay? Starting next week, there's going to be a new Zoom link for this meeting, okay? No longer the one that we've been using. And it's not just a new Zoom link. I'm actually adding a new level of security to register for the meeting. Okay, it's very important that all the people who show up here are legitimate job seekers and who should be on this call, if you know what I mean. All right. So I am doing it at a little level of security, and I'm going to put this link in the chat box. This is what's going to be on the meetup site. It is, you can fill it out right now. You only have to fill it out one time, and it's a Zoom registration link. So it's going to ask you for your name, phone number, email, and a couple of job search questions. All right, just one time. Once you register and hit submit, then you're going to get the new URL for Zoom. Save that URL for the next year. I mean, you should hopefully not need us for the next year, but it's just save it. Okay. Because that link is not going to be on Meetup, only for people who register. Right. So for your protection, that's why I'm doing this now.
Okay.
All right. So fill it out whenever you like.
everything you're putting on chat, I can access after the Zoom call.
Only if you save the chat. So Maggie, if you want to write me privately, if you can't
Okay.
access it, because I guess you're on your phone right now, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, go ahead and write me privately and I'll send you.
Okay. And I'm sorry, I'm trying to look on my phone how to do it. The screen disappears when. Okay. And so Vern, was it your wife? Email?
It's Ty.
Ty,
I'm sorry.
that's all right.
I'm trying to figure out how to get to that.
If you want to just jot down my email address, I don't want to take up too much time. You can do that.
Okay. Yeah, let
It's-
me grab my paper here. Okay,
It's
I'm
TL Smith 316@yahoo.com.
TL Smith 316 at Yahoo.
.com. Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Okay.
All
So
right.
any other job search questions before we wrap up? Are we good? Okay. So Maggie, right now I'm going to end the call formally, but if you'd like to stay on, I do a short prayer call with the folks who remain. Okay. So I'm just going to end the call right now.